2023, women are still experiencing discrimination in multiple forms. In some aspects more, in some aspects less, but we're still far, far, far away from gender equality. UNESCO and the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap reports for 2021 both found that the time needed to close the gender gap actually worldwide has increased from 99 years to 135 years. On the other hand, we have the data which shows that 69% of global health organizations are led by men. 80% of board chairs are men. And when it comes to their earnings, women earn on average 28% less than their male counterparts. Or to put it differently and more vividly, women in medicine earn 82 cents for every dollar earned by men. In this episode of YouthSquad, where we talk about relevant topics from the perspective of young people, we will talk about what the opportunities are for young women aspiring to be successful in the field of medicine. And of course, who better to talk about this topic than a young woman aspiring and, in my opinion, succeeding to be successful in the field of medicine. Welcome, Anna. Thank you for being here. My name is Maria, and my guest today is Anna.
Hi, Maria. I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm very thankful that I'm invited to speak about this topic, which is, I think, very relevant today. And it's very important because we need to, talk about, gender equity between men and women.
I agree. I completely agree with you that we definitely have to have these conversations in order to raise awareness, and then maybe that could be a small step that we take today in order to bring more. And as you said, not equality is so much as equity, because equality doesn't sometimes mean that we are all in the same position after all. So you are a student of medicine, you're on your final year of studies, and before we dive into the gender equality topic and the side of this topic, how are you satisfied with your studies? How were you satisfied with the opportunities you were offered with?
Well, generally speaking, medicine lasts very long. 6 years are a lot, actually 6.5 years. Because after we finish our studies, we have a period when we do our clinical rotations. So it's a 6 months more after we finish on the university. And I am generally pleased. I mean, you're not able to get everything on plate, served. So you have to actually search for opportunities. For example, if you're doing a scientific work, or if you're doing something community work, raising awareness about certain diseases, about certain topics in medicine that need to be spoken about. So you have to actually to put yourself to be noticed, for example, from some kind of organizations that are student based. Mm-hmm. And I think there are a lot of them, even here. And generally, I am satisfied with opportunities I was given and I was introduced to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So basically, you feel you have to put the foot in the door before you actually get called into.
Exactly. You need to show that you are willing to work and that you're willing to give yourself to those kind of opportunities.
And did you do that?
Of course.
You saw every opportunity and you took it.
I would agree that I did actually used every opportunity that did come my way. And
how did you feel about it?
You
feel these opportunities actually led you towards a way or a path that you believe is has a possibility to be successful at some point?
I agree with that. I think that I'm on the right path. But basically in medicine, when you're finishing the medicine, you are striving to choose a specialty you want to work with, but sometimes you won't get your way. For example, when you're specializing in something, maybe when hospital needs certain specialty, they will give you that, but won't give you the one that you actually want. So I can say that I'm 100% sure what I will do in the future and how it will all work out. But I am definitely striving to choose what I want to like work with, and I'm like giving my, let's say, 100% to do that thing.
Yeah. So you believe that you're more where you need to be. Maybe you won't end up right where you have, you know, a picture in your head right now, but you are very, very certain that you're on the right way. I am very certain that you're on the right way because I know you personally, and I really believe that you're gonna rock this medicine thing, and that you're gonna be an amazing practitioner one day, and that you're actually gonna do some good and change the world in your own way. So my question is, because like we can't really ignore it, and from the moment you started talking, actually, I had this question popping in my mind, like, did these opportunities sometimes differ from the colleagues, from your male colleagues, or the opportunities that your male colleagues were presented with?
I would have to say no. Because like for young students, like it doesn't matter, as I said, whether you're like male or female, you can participate only if you like are willing to like participate in that thing, or to do, I don't know, like a scientific work, scientific paper, or like some kind of like class, like community, as I mentioned, community service. But you need to put yourself. So I would say that a lot of my friends, female friends, of course, are like doing those kind of things, like even maybe more than my male friends.
But that's because it's based on the interest of the individual rather than the gender.
Exactly.
And do you think that kind of changes once you finish your studies and you become a doctor, or, you know, you become someone who is building their career? Because, like, it's one thing if we talk about, like, the position of female students, and another if we talk about the position of women in the workplace and in workspaces and in their career paths, because women are often faced with challenges that men are not, because socially, like the social norms actually dictate that, for example, a woman should, after a 12-hour shift, an 8-hour shift, or a 4-hour shift, doesn't matter, should come home and get to, you know, caregiving, you know, lunch preparing and stuff. So do you think that it changes once you finish the studies? Do you think that it's different for young women and young men?
I think like the women who stay in like especially hospitals, they continue to like do the work, because you have to dedicate yourself to that, and you have to sacrifice like some things. But I would agree on the comment that women are like usually caregivers at home, so that not most of them, but like a very big number of them are like giving up on their like professional career, and they're like dedicating their time and their like energy to like taking care of children or doing housework. And I would agree that the number of women are like is getting lower when you're going like when we're talking about like doctors, not about like young medical students.
Yes. Okay. And do you think that this is something that's up for change? Do you think that this is something?
Yes, of course. Yeah, like, and I see that like a lot of my friends are not satisfied with that also, and that they're like aspiring to like do more like with their careers and their professional work compared to the like
before, you know.
Exactly that. Yeah. And I don't think that their like house work will be affected by that. Well, that's what I wanted to say. And I am very, very glad that I'm like seeing this, because it's inspiring, like for me, especially because I want to like dedicate a lot of my time to like not just like being a doctor, but to science also. And I think that you can actually do both.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and I really like that I can hear you telling me that women in medicine are actually trying to break out of these norms and when frames that were set in somehow in stone through the time. And is this the thing, like, is this the case with your male colleagues as well? Do they try to also break out of these norms? Do they also talk about these topics, or how does it go in, like, when you go out in a cafe and you're sitting with your colleagues and you're talking about stuff, and then you start talking about the future and what your future plans are, and then do you hear a male colleague sometimes say, I'm not sure whether I will be practicing medicine as much because I have to take care of my wife and kids,
Of course.
or my husband and kids.
I didn't hear that. But what I'm glad I actually witnessed is that none of my male colleagues, let's say, are discriminating. Like they're not, like, for example, if I say that I want to do something, no one says like, I don't think you're like qualified, I don't think that you will do good in that like specialty or in that position, which I'm like very happy to see. They're like supportive. Generally we're supporting one to each other. And also I'm very happy to see that a lot of doctors now, or actually medical students, are more female. For example, in our university group, like there are 3 times more female students compared to men. Yeah, like the number is increasing, like in the last, like not just years, like the last couple of decades, it's increasing, and I'm very, very, very happy to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, because like now that I think about it, like you put me to some thinking, and I was like, when I enter, I don't know, some medical institution, I always tend to see like women in the position of nurses, or like positions that are kind of like lower. I mean, I don't want to discriminate here, but like are just like financially less like they are less paid and stuff like that, and then if you see a doctor, it's usually male, but like I agree with the fact that these are all usually older people and older generations, and I'm really glad that I can actually hear from your experience that,
I also have like to say about that. I went to an exchange program last year, and
where did you go?
I went in Tunisia.
Nice.
And I was very glad to see that the head of I was like doing my clerkship in cardiology, and the head of the department was actually a female, and my mentor was also female. So there are like a lot of female doctors, which I was like very surprised to see and very pleased.
Nice. I mean, I'm as well. My little feminist heart is happy to hear that. So, but how do you? I mean, like in the beginning of this episode, I mentioned some of the statistics that are like from last year, and 80% of board chairs are men. 69% of global health organizations are led by men, and this is not specific only to medicine. This is like really a widespread problem, and I mean, I don't have anything against successful men. It's just that I believe that representation matters. And if, for example, the chairmen are all men, we will, like they won't take into consideration, because it won't be natural to them to take into consideration the needs and the position of women in that field that they're actually, responsible for. So, for example, like if chairmen in medicine have to decide whether you should have pee breaks every once in a while, they would maybe vote out not to have pee breaks, because they would only lead themselves and their thoughts by the thought of peeing. But like women usually go to bathrooms, for example, for other needs as well, which they might not take into consideration if they don't have a woman present in the room. So how do you feel like this affect the position of you as a young woman in medicine, but also as a young student, because some norms are dictated by men because they're usually the ones leading. So how do you feel like, do you think that it's a must that we have women in these positions, and that something like an example that you mentioned isn't just an example of positive practice, but is actually practice? It's like something that happens regularly, and it's not an exception rather than a rule. Do you feel like this has to happen in order to actually like see the change, and like for female, generally women in medicine, to be in a better position?
I agree, it's a must, because you need to have like a female perspective next to male, because a lot of as I said, like a lot of new doctors are like female, so you have to have like a woman perspective on when you're like deciding on some things, and when you're like taking into consideration your colleagues. You have to, like, as you said, like it's not the same between women and men when they're like a basic example, when they're going to the bathroom or something like that, and you have to
take into consideration what women will think, and then in order to do that, you have to have them present, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of on the same side, but I'm not, like, I'm really happy that I came here in this room today with the thought that, like, female students have it hard, and then you mentioned.
But also you have to have like take into perspective that women take like lower paying specialties. For example, most of the men are like orthopedic surgeons. Like you don't have like a lot of women orthopedic surgeons, but for example, you have a lot of pediatrician, a lot of female pediatrician, which are like paid less compared to the like orthopedic surgeons, and also like they're maybe more like they're participating into different
Activities?
Activity. No, that's not what I want to say. I wanted to say that like those kind of jobs are like more. They're usually taken into consideration when you're like talking about chair borders and like women or like people who are like part of the head of the organization.
So
hospital.
So wait, like they take these professions as well into consideration, and they have to be represented in the board as well. That's what you're trying to say. So basically, if women are in mostly pediatricians, the part of the board that's representing the pediatricians will be mostly women, right?
It depends. Like it will be because there are like more female workers in that specialty. But as I said, like there are a lot of male-dominated specialties, and they're like more paid, especially.
I have an interesting question for you, because like now you mentioned, so like male-dominated spheres, like fields that are more paid. Is it more paid because it's male-dominated, or is it male-dominated because it's more paid? What is your opinion?
I think it's male-dominated because it's more paid, not more paid because it's male-dominated. It's very harder. For example, orthopedic surgery is very hard. You have to have a muscle to to do those kind of surgeries. So it's like harder for women to do that, and that's why like it's male dominated. And male and they're like more leaning towards those kind of like specialties where it's easier for them to like surpass their female colleagues.
Nice. I mean, not nice, but I understand it now more clearly. But I'm also interested in what do you think? What's the reason that female doctors are mostly in pediatricians? What do you think is the reason behind that? Like, is it because of the social norms that we have? That, like, as we mentioned, women are usually the caregivers. Usually are linked with taking care of children and the elderly and stuff. So like, do you think that was the cause, or the fact that it was something that's more approachable to women in general?
I think like both things you said are like taken into consideration. For example, women tend to be like emotionally more like
present.
When it comes to like children, and children are cute, usually hear people say. So they have like a way with kids that I can say like my male doctors don't have like a way with kids, or that they can be like a pediatricians, but it's like usually more approachable profession, like specialty for women. And also if you have like 95% of male collective in like some other specialty, of course you wouldn't feel as comfortable working there as you would feel like into like field where there's like some kind of like equality between like male and female stuff.
Okay. I mean, obviously when you walk into the room you'll feel more comfortable if you're represented actually, and
Exactly.
Just don't enter with 99 men and you're the 100 women and that's it, you're 1% and that's it. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, but like this was also something that's like kind of vicious circle in a sense, because it's less paid, and then women like are, and it's perceived as more of a female job than a male job, and then women go there, and then you create this space where women feel comfortable. So sometimes women will feel like they like are leaving to just be like caregivers and stuff like that, because they will feel more comfortable in those fields. I mean, obviously there are certain exceptions, and these exceptions are beautiful to see, but they shouldn't be exceptions. They should be rules. But my question popped up. A question popped up while you were saying that, like, you are now finishing your studies and you are now like thinking about your career path. You're now like thinking where to go next, what to do in your life, blah blah blah. What do you take into consideration? The position of women in the specialty you are maybe thinking about right now?
I have to say no, because I am like I'm trying to like to get the specialty I want to like do, because we're talking about like a whole life, because I will do like the whole like my whole life. So I want to do something that I really love. So I will like put myself out there. It doesn't matter whether it's like male or female dominated specialty, because again, as I said, I'm gonna do this for the whole life, and I don't want to do something that I won't be satisfied later, or that to do something that will get me like bored at some point in my life.
So basically you are going head through the wall, like hunting the wall, but it's forest
doing the north.
Yeah. But do you think that's the way to bring change into our society?
Well,
do you think like let me rephrase that. Like, do you think that you have to have like strong women, not afraid to step out of their comfort zone and step into the male dominated areas if they like it, if they like the specialty that they're thinking about, and just break all the norms and just be brave and don't care about anything, and this way break the assumptions that some areas are not allowed for women and are not where women are not desired to be it.
I will definitely agree that we need more those kind of women, because you need to have like, it's like a sparkle that will like change the way of thinking, for example, for the other female students, because like a lot of them are, as I said, like choosing something that is not as hard. I can't say it's hard, because every specialty is in medicine is like hard,
less challenging in a sense.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't actually necessarily depends on your knowledge and skill, but rather how you feel comfortable around those people.
So I really need I would really agree that we need like more those kind of women, because they will like change. They can change the way the young female students are thinking, and they can aspire them to like strive to do something like that, because we need to have those kind of women.
Mm-hmm. But do you think this is the only way?
I don't think it's the only way, but let's say just as a good start. Like, you need something. If you want to do something, you have to start somewhere. So I think this would be like a good way to like get the fire going. Let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I mean, but do you feel like it would be if these kind of initiatives where you inspire women to enter the fields where they don't feel really comfortable in, like if this initiative was
sorry for like doing this, like it's not just about like female students, it's also like changing the male perspective. Like if you say that, they see that you can actually do something, it's not just like you, like for example the other like female doctors that are coming after you, maybe like the way will be paved for them on some level, let's say, not like truly, but like on some level, and there will be like less looking down on, let's say, female doctors. Like trying to do.
But do you think that these initiatives have to come from people, like from self-organized initiatives such as like, I don't know, your male colleagues or your female colleagues putting some thought about it and then thinking I mean definitely women should and then bringing some initiative to the board and something like that? Do you think like these initiatives have to have like some policies, something that's like some mechanisms that come from actually the state itself, or the like on a global level in general, like some educational practices that can lead to some equality? Do you think that awareness has to be raised through people who are actually in those fields, or do you think it should come from external factors, like such as the state, or like policies and laws and stuff like that? I don't know, quotas maybe even, something that's necessarily some mechanisms that can like make it necessary to have women in certain fields?
I think that's actually a good idea also. But we need like to work not just in any country, like in the world. We need to work on those kind of things, which is like way harder. And I think there should be like some kind of laws or like rules on like not by a state, for example, by a hospital itself, about like jobs, like number of jobs that are given to like men or to women, so that they can actually raise the chances of women like being able to like get into the specific specialty they want. And also it's very, I think that the awareness needs to be raised not only in the like medical field, but into like when we are talking about people in general. They need to like, for example, a lot of them are like maybe more comfortable with males as they are doctors compared to like female doctors. So I need to
like patients like more comfortable
with male doctors. So I need to like, so we need to raise awareness like in general, yeah, not just like in medical medicine.
I didn't think about it because, you know, sometimes like I am completely in my bubble and I forget about the fact that, you know, also like outside of the workspace you have to interact with people who may not like you just because you.
And that's the basic of medicine, because you're constantly working with people like whole day every single day of your work.
Yeah, but with people that you don't necessarily work with, like people that you have to help.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to do your job. So that's a tough one. But you mentioned like raising awareness generally and raising the thought and the idea of gender equality generally. But do you feel like you have ever experienced like outside of the medicine world different treatment just because you're a woman?
I actually happened to experience in medicine also, during our faculty year. Like one of our professors told us that women actually can do, for example, surgery or stuff like those kind of specialties. Like they could just like do something like dermatology or a specialty that don't require that kind of dedication as like, for example, surgery. So I was like very angry when I heard that.
I
was like,
I'm angry now.
Exactly. Like, how do you know? Like, how can you say something like that? You can't say something like that. And I was like very shocked to see that those kind of like people, that there are like people who think that way in medicine still. And for example, that can actually shows you that the problem is very rooted in the core of the medicine in general, not just like, for example, certain specialties. And that's what something like we need to like work on.
Yeah, most definitely. And so basically this is like just your general opinion now on top of your head. What do you think has to happen in order for these changes to happen? Like, what do you think has to be the spark to bring an avalanche of changes? And, you know, like maybe in 10 to 20, 30 years when our, you know, like kids and, you know, different generations are walking this earth, like what do you think has to happen in order for them to have it better than we do?
I have to say that like when female doctors are like getting are looking for their jobs, they're actually settle like easier to a certain payment. Like they want like communicate about their pay. They actually don't want to like get their pay higher compared to the like male doctors.
They won't ask for a raise.
Yeah,
for
they will actually accept the payment they were like introduced to first. So I think that we need to like ask about like the payments about of other like both men and female doctors, and I think like the payments should be like displayed. For example, when you're like going for a conversation, like for a job interview, you need to get like an idea, at least like a basic idea what kind of like payments are for the other doctors, so that you can know like whether you are being given like the right, some or not. So I think that that's one of the things we need to do. But I don't think like a lot of hospitals don't do that. Like that's very rare to happen. And I think that during those like job interviews, you need to like put yourself out and to ask like for those kind of things.
Yeah. So now, beside the salary transparency, which you mentioned, which is really important in all fields, I believe, because as I mentioned in the beginning, like there is a huge gender pay gap, and because of this, but also because of other things, and not only based on gender, some discriminations also happen on different bases, but are still tied to how much people are paid for the same amount of work they do.
Exactly. And when you're talking about like the amount of work they do, I have to like to mention that a lot of like healthcare systems are like quantity like
oriented.
Exactly, not about the quality of care you are providing, but about but to like quantity of service you are like providing. So it's like you are trying to get like as many patients as you can, like to like check on during one day, and sometimes you do not have like enough time for every single patient, and you can miss something. So that's, I think, one of the like mistakes in the system. But I don't think it's like going to get changed like very soon, because they did change it like not recently, but like couple of years ago. So like
this is the new system.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is the new system. Yeah.
And women tend to like to like provide more care during like, so that's why they're like they can like exam like less patients maybe, so that also can be taken into account when we are talking about.
So
like,
statistically, you would say that women generally just pay more attention to details and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's tricky to say something like that, but I believe that it's somehow in our in the social norms as well, not only in our nature, to just like be more careful with certain things. And also because like if you have a male patient and you're this awesome female doctor, you still may feel discriminated because some males, not just men, just generally people, like if someone elderly comes to you and asks for help, they, as you mentioned, might trust more your male colleague than you than yourself, and you can still feel discriminated in the work. So I believe that in this way women tend to be more careful, and because they have a lot at stake at the moment, and probably think more than just to give the care that they are there to provide, but to also keep their record clean, and be careful not to have anything on their record that could ruin their career in the long run. This was an awesome conversation. I think we actually brainstormed a little and came up with some mechanisms that actually can really affect the position of not only women in medicine, but just generally like women in their work careers, because I think it's important to have salary transparency and to have the idea of how much certain professions are paid, and to just like to understand your rights and to know that it's not all up to you. In a sense, like you should fight for yourself, but some things
you can't do everything by yourself.
Yes, you have to have the community to follow you up.
Exactly. And I think like I said it like during the conversation we had, like things are slowly changing. They're changing, but they're like changing slowly. Like I saw like a lot of our like mentors and assistant professors and professors are female, or they're like heads of the departments, or and I'm like very, very glad to see like that happening. So it's not like mostly men dominated, but it's changing slowly.
So another piece of advice for everyone listening to this episode is to be patient, because in order to have any sight of gender equality, we need to wait. And so that's one idea that I'm gonna leave our listeners today with. Think about how much 130 35.6 years is, which is, this, like time needed to close the gender gap worldwide. So think about how many generations will have to pass in order for a woman to wake up one morning and think for sure that she's, not even then for sure, but that she's paid similarly as her male counterparts. Thank you for listening to this podcast. My name is Maria, and my guest today was Anna. Thank you, Anna, once again.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to YouthSquad. My name is Maria. The YouthSquad podcast series is recorded under a small-scale project in the field of youth called Voicehood of Youth, which will cover 4 topics: human rights, gender equality, European multiculturalism, inclusion and diversity, and active participation. The project is implemented within the Erasmus Plus program and is financed by the Swedish National Agency. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you stay tuned for another episode.